Welcome back. You're still watching NTV Weekend Edition with me, Sandra Twinodio. Well, earlier this week, President Museveni, in launching his manifesto ahead of his re-election campaign, called for free vocational education, marches at the same vein as free primary and secondary schooling, as provided for by the government. The matter has attracted attention, with many asking, how would this work? To help us and, of course, understand this and so much more, we have PATRICK BYAKATONda, who is the Director of the Directorate of Industrial Training. Welcome to Talk of the Nation tonight.
Thank you, Sandra.
Well, first and foremost, I'm sure you've seen the President's speech where he's calling for free vocational training. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Thank you very much, Sandra. As you know, we are now moving to industrialization, with construction of many industries and industrial parks that calls for skilled manpower. And the major theme, I think, in the manifesto is skilling. In other words, providing Ugandans with skills. Government has invested heavily in construction and equipping. So the challenge was some of the institutions, the technical institutions, we are not attracting the numbers. Now, with His Excellency's pronouncement, the numbers are going to increase, because we need to train technicians, artisans, technologists, whoever is required for the industry. So it means we are now securing the future.
All right. Well, with the background of free primary and secondary schooling, it still has some shortcomings. Someone would say there's still some issues that need to be dealt with. Free vocational training in itself is a good idea, but when you look at it being so accessible by so many people, in what ways do you think this is likely to affect it?
Every intervention has good advantages, and what I can say, some of the shortcomings. It may not be perfect 100%, because
but is it achievable? Is it achievable? Can we achieve free vocational training?
Yeah, it is achievable, because one, the equipment, they're already in place, the constructions, it is increasing the number of institutions, and also because, by the way, when you take, for instance, at the diploma level, the current enrollment, government sponsored, is 320 students per college. There are 5 colleges. So if the capitation is increased, I mean, you add on more capitation for additional students, it can be achieved, because from selection, some are even locked out. Those who don't have, those who cannot get government sponsored students.
Let's maybe critically talk about the quality of vocational training. Do you think it's likely to stay the same, or it may be affected, with it being more accessible to many people than it was now?
Okay, to maintain quality, one, you need to have the equipment which can satisfy those numbers, where they can work in shift. 2, you need the instructors. So as you increase the numbers, you increase other aspects which contribute to quality. 1, we have the equipment. 2, we have the instructors. Then the issue of assessment also comes in. Those bodies involved in assessment, they have to be expanded. They have to be their manpower. Then there should be also continuous professional development. Then the quality will be, because of course we need quality.
We need quality. Okay, well, we also know that there is a recent 5-year program that you recently signed with the Netherlands organization. What is it all about, and what are the short and long-term benefits of this program?
The program is an intervention for refugees, mainly in West Nile. We are working with Educan War Aid, and the Norwegian Refugee Council. So under that program, one, we are going to skill. It is not us skilling, we are part of the skilling process, but there are institutions which are already earmarked. We have Amero, and then Yoyo. Amero is a government institution in West Nile. So they will be conducting the training, then the Directorate of Industrial Training will assess and certify the refugees. The purpose is to give those people, the refugees, and the host community, you give them skills which can enable them to start their own job, to be constructive, but also to earn a living, because the issue was food. And now we said, once you provide the skills, then people can get the food.
We're talking about scaling. You have, even in our interaction now, you emphasize a lot of training and skilling and reskilling. And you know, we know that you've been moving to improve assessment of working professionals already on the job, and also sort of give them better training. What are some of those skills, new skills that you are looking for exactly, that you're trying to assess?
What I can say, the new mandate in the new reforms, the Directorate of Industrial Training is supposed to be a gatekeeper of the industry. So you cannot access the industry before you go through the Directorate of Industrial Training in the new proposed mandate. What does it mean? Every new skill required in the industry have to be assessed and certified. So the skills are many. They cannot be, I can't be, whatever skill, the one which is relevant now may not be the one which is relevant to tomorrow. But what is interesting now is mainly in the area of agriculture, because we need value addition. That is the area, not only digging and whatever. So most of the skills now are in value addition.
And let me just take you back to the issue of vocational training. While some people have raised some concerns, of course, it's an exciting idea. And like you mentioned, the shortcomings could be there, but as people get excited for the possibility of getting free vocational training, as the government looks forward maybe to do that in case it is re-elected in power, what are some of those things that they should be looking at, and the lessons that they should pick from free primary and secondary school moving forward, so that they don't repeat the same mistakes in vocational free vocational training?
Okay, what is critical? One, vocational training is expensive. Actually, almost it is like 10 times more than the ordinary education. It needs the equipment, it needs instructional materials, it needs the qualified manpower, the instructors, so it is expensive. In other words, the unit cost, the capitation grant per student should be increased. That is number one. Number two, you should have properly trained managers where you can train with production, because the materials should not be wasted. Those materials can be sold and then the income is added on. So you should have game changers. Then it should be a collective responsibility. Everybody should be. But also the private sector, because we train for the private sector, is one of the biggest employer of our product. So in the new reforms which are being suggested in the TVET policy, it will be an employer-led, and the private sector is playing a greater role. So we cannot miss private sector involvement.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Patrick Byakatonda, who is the Director of Directorate of Industrial Training, speaking to us about his own thoughts on the recommended policy of providing free vocational training by the President. Well, there you have it. It's a good idea, but we'll wait to see if it will work or not. Thank you all for joining us on NTV Weekend Edition. We'll return shortly.